by the Nile River, living in luxury, enjoying freedom, justice, and equality. We wore silken robes and slippers of gold. We were the wealthiest and the wisest people untold. Now we are the poorest of the poor. Nobody wants us at their door. So my friend, it's easy to tell, white man heaven is a black man hell.
So the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that Master Farad Muhammad said 6 words to us, and these were the 6 most powerful words that he spoke. He said, accept your own and be yourself. Accept your own. The Caucasians who brought our fathers into slavery designed to take us away from our own people, our own culture, our own religion, our own God, our own language. So we have grown up in America away from our own mind, away from our own self, and so we have been actually indoctrinated with an alien mentality.
10,000 fearless men, because we're going to have to challenge the things that are destroying our community. So this ain't no punk time. This ain't no temple time, mosque time, or church time. All the singing and shouting and preaching is over. Get in them streets now, block by block. We're going to have to clean it up. The airwaves is not enough. The television screen is not enough. You got to put boots on the ground who are trained and are willing to make the sacrifice of life itself to see our community made a decent place to live.
Soldiering is a part of the Nation of Islam, and it readies all of us to obey the commands of God. Now some will ask, well, why military drill? Because this is what produces the camaraderie.
Facebook and Instagram thought that they could ban the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan.
But in reality, they can't, because he already lives in us and millions of others.
قل أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين.
In the name of Allah, Master Fard Muhammad, the one true and living God to whom praise is due forever, I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad is his messenger. Peace, family, and welcome back to another wonderful episode of WHID-FM. WHID-FM is your personal platform where those of us striving to follow the life-giving and life-saving teachings of the most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, as given to us by his premier pupil, the Honorable Minister Farrakhan, gathered right here in this virtual meeting place to answer that most critical question: what has Islam done for me? It's Sunday, September 1st, and at this time, we're going to turn it over to that dynamic co-host of WHID-FM, our sister, Janine Muhammad, who is a superstar student here in the ministry at Muhammad Mosque, number 6, under the leadership of our beloved brother, student Imam Abdul Salam Muhammad. Sister Janine.
Assalamu alaikum, family, and thank you again for joining us for another episode of WHID-FM, where you hear the stories from our various guests about what Islam has done and continuing to do for them. I'm going to introduce our couple guests tonight. Our brother, who is Brother Patrick Muhammad, who is a multifaceted individual who wears many hats with grace and purpose. By day, he serves as a dedicated school principal with a profound commitment. Brother Patrick's journey has been characterized by unwavering dedication to the principles of growth, inclusion, and empowerment. Beyond his role as an educator, Brother Patrick Muhammad is recognized nationally for his recent commercial partnership with John Deere Tractor, where he lends his voice to promote the values of farming and gardening. And this commercial actually reflects his deep-rooted passion for agriculture and sustainable living. And then I'm also going to introduce his amazing wife, Sister Ishtar Muhammad, who is an MGT, a wife, a sister, and a mother, and she's a Muslim woman. As a formal educator for over 20 years, her scholars all remember their favorite teacher, Mrs. Muhammad, and her Scholar B students. As an accomplished seamstress, she is nationally known for her masterful design of the Junior FOI Sunday suits. Known as a teacher farmer, Sister Ishtar has been a lead instructor for all MG2 units, which she diligently prepares for weekly. So we'd like to welcome you both on the show tonight. Assalamu alaikum, family.
Walaikum salam.
Now, before we get into our questions, I believe Brother Wesley has a video that we are going to play. So we will roll to that first, and then we will go to the questions. Brother Wesley. Beautiful family. Well, welcome to the show tonight. I love that video. And one thing that sticks out in the video where you have highlighted experience none. So can you give us a summary of, you have no experience. So if you don't know anything about farming, how did you get into it, and what inspired you to say, I want to go from no experience to having a whole homestead? And either one of you can start first.
Oh, praise to Allah. First of all, I would like to say thank you all for having us on your show to share what Islam has done for us. In the name of Allah, the Most Merciful, we bear witness that Allah came in the person of Master Fard Muhammad. We bear witness that the most honorable Elijah Muhammad is the risen and exalted Christ, and that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is our divine warner, teacher, and guide in our midst. So again, we greet you in greetings of peace. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam, sir.
So thank you all. And it's an honor to be on with my wife. This is the better half. And so I'm blessed to have Sister Ishtar with us today. Your question is the question that we love to answer. We were truly inspired by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan with Time and What Must Be Done, number 36. Foreman is the engine to our national life. We were believers, like other believers around the country, watching the weekly broadcasts. And when number 36 came, the minister delivered. As always, we finished that episode, and I told Sister Ishtar, I said, the minister wants us to buy a farm. And we were like, oh, well, we're talking to the whole nation. I was like, no, he's talking to us. Like, we have to buy a farm. And lo and behold, right after that broadcast, the nation came to Tuskegee, and Minister Ishmael actually covered that Day of Atonement. And my post assignment was to kind of keep some detractors from coming in the town square. And so it forced us to be sitting out on farmland the whole time. And I wore out, I think that Brother Frank out of DC, I just wore him out talking about farmland, right? And so as things happen, you know, God placed a gentleman in our midst by the name of Wayne Swanson. We met him. He took us to his farm. We toured his farm. He had 36 acres in Hampton, Georgia. I came back and told Ishtar, like, he said we could put cows on this land. And so we're living in a subdivision, no experience. Meet this guy who we only known for maybe 2 months at this time. We end up with 7 more FOI. We bought 8 cows, put them on this gentleman's land, and we kept those cows there. And that was December. So from October to December, we went from no experience to purchasing 8 cows. And so we were like, well, Wayne's great, but what if he gets mad at us? We can't take these cows to a subdivision. And so the quest began to look for land. In April of 2014, we actually found our land, and we closed on it on my daughter's birthday, July 29th, 2014. So we were truly inspired. I'm going to pause there and see if the wife wants to add to that.
I do. Thank you for asking. I just wanted to say, going back to the no experience, but just because we had the desire to be pleasing and follow an instruction, I thought that Brother Patrick was going to buy the land and we would come visit him because we were very comfortable in our home. So when he told me that we all were moving to the farm, I mean, it took me some time to really think about it, but we know that this is the engine of the nation. So the more we watched the Time and What Must Be Done, we were taking notes and we was just following instructions. We did not have any experience. I remember Patrick and I visited a farm and we brought some strawberries and green beans, and we really thought we had a green thumb until we checked our crops. Everything died. We were doing everything right. We thought about maybe it was the soil. We just convinced ourselves that we're not good at this. But when we aligned ourselves or submitted to the will and aligned to our desires, things started falling into place. Brother Patrick met Brother Chip, but the Chip shares the same fraternity as Brother Patrick, so they immediately hooked up. So everything just started falling into place. The more we submitted and we had that the desire to do, the more Allah was showing us or giving us a little bit more increase in our faith. So doors were just opening for us. So we completely stepped out on faith, you know, even with my daughter's birthday being on the same day that we closed. We stayed, we sacrificed the Savior's Day to save money. I mean, everything was just falling in place, even with this land. We didn't want to move far out because everything we had worked hard for was in this area. Allah blessed us. We was driving down the road. I think we got so fed up to the point to where I was like, you know, just give it up, Patrick. We're not going to be able to find this land unless we go far out, and we didn't want to go far out. So as we was thinking about pausing it, waiting for a couple of years, Allah guided us down a road, and we seen a for sale.
1 mile from the subdivision we had been in for 7 years.
We seen a for sale sign, but the Patrick pulled in the yard, took the for sale sign out, and he just said, "This is going to be it."
Yeah, no one else was going to see the farm until
I mean, it was literally where my children go to school. Somehow I convinced these people, I guess, we know that it was by the work of Allah.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, because we had driven all around looking for farmland so we can start our, show Allah that we wanted to be obedient by following the guidance of the minister.
And so that's why our name is Your Faith Farm, because we stepped out on faith. We had, we bought cows and never had been around cows. We bought 31 acres and we didn't even have a lawnmower. We had one of the brothers cut our grass and we didn't have enough equipment. We literally just stepped out on faith.
And also, I don't know if you ever seen any of Patrick videos on YouTube, or Facebook, but the way he would call these animals, let's go all the way back. When he was working with these cows, and I seen the cows with these horns, and I said, oh my God, you playing with bulls? And I just said, he had lost his mind. But then I said, you know what, let me just step back and be quiet and be silent. Patrick, first of all, they weren't bulls, they were females, and tiny wood, right? Piney wood. Mm-hmm. Okay, so they're piney wood cows. But he would call these cows, and they would come to Brother Patrick like a pet. So, man, I think we were able to appreciate the value of life. It was something I've never ever seen. So my children had the experience of being city children. Maybe they can't even imagine moving back to the city.
Wow, praise be to Allah. Now, you both actually led me to my next question, which I want to ask before I turn it over to Brother West. So how do you all, because for some people, we look at YouTubers, we say, oh, wow, that's nice. It would be nice to have that. And they must have experience or they must have connections to get the land. Can you tell us how you understood faith before you had the land and how you understand faith now? Like, what has changed, like your definition of faith?
I would answer that first is Allah defeated the impossible, He created Himself. So once the minister gave the instruction, because the time and what must be done, all the entire series, those are instructions that were given to us. And we just happened to, take heed to that particular instruction on number 36. And that was enough. And even to the point to maybe 6 years within it, I got a chance to be with the minister. And I told Brother Minister, we followed your instruction. What to do next? He said, well, Allah is guiding you. I said, oh, but what you want us to do, Brother Minister? He said, listen to Allah, right? And so we literally would just say our prayers and just act, so with motion. And by Allah's grace, we have helped over 24 families move to farms, right? And so it's not impossible. And we didn't do anything. We're both educators with educator salaries. There's no endowment and no one gave, we literally qualify, got pre-qualified like you buy a house, right? And we just bought a house with a big backyard. And that's how I like to simplify it for families. It's a house with a big backyard. It happens to be 31 acres, but you don't have to have a gazillion amount of dollars. You don't have to have the perfect of credit. No, just get pre-qualified, and then we'll find you a farm within the 200,000 that you qualify for. So sometimes we are our own worst enemy, and we get in the way like, oh, it can't happen. Oh, I got to do this. Nothing's perfect. That's a wobble in the earth. So if we're waiting for perfection, you're gonna be waiting a long time. So just step out on faith and watch Allah show you how in line you are, because He reward. I feel my nudge. I'm gonna pause right there.
No,
at 25 years, Sister Janine, I know when it's time to pass the mic.
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
When it comes to me, I just have to speak on it. I would just say, with the lack of experience and stepping out on faith, the more we pray to Allah, the more we put on the universe, whatever we ask Allah for in the right way, and asking Him in the name of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, the exalted Christ, and in the name of the minister, Allah was blessing us. So, and we would pray all over the property. Of course, we have our own prayer room in our home, but while we're outside, we're praying over our over the flower garden, our medicinal garden, over our crops. We pray over our animals. We had a prayer tree. I mean, we're not losing it, but we have a tree there whenever people come over. It was our business action tree. People would come over, we would talk, we would hold hands, we would pray. Just the energy of Allah. We felt, well, we feel spoiled. Whatever we asked for in the right context, and we weren't doing anything to be seen. Like Brother Patrick said before, we're educators. So we brought our students and adults to the farm. So we're teaching agriculture before we went into the school field of agriculture on the farm. So whatever we was learning hands-on, we was passing it on at the same time. Sometimes we weren't, most of the time we weren't doing anything for money. People just felt sorry for us maybe, and they wanted to donate. And they was like, oh, you're doing all of this? Well, who's helping you? And we looked at each other like, we're the help. And I mean, it's just us. You know, we're not looking at, oh my God, this is too much. We were trying to find out which way does Allah want us to go. Okay, we're going to do this first. And once we master this, then we're going to show our people. And so that's what was happening. There had been times where people were driving by. We were doing farm tours. They drove by and they got out their car and they was walking the land with everybody else. The little children, everyone was learning at the same time. So the things I think Brother Patrick put on Facebook, nothing is done for monetary. You know, we weren't doing anything to just show off and say, look what we have. We were saying, look, we probably failed at this activity, or we probably failed planting this tree, but this is what we're going to do now. We didn't let any small failure become a hindrance for us. We thought it was funny. So if we failed at something, we was like, okay, let's do it this way.
We're failing forward.
Or we learned at the minister's farm once how we need to make this tea for our plants. Then we started using the fish emoji. So we was using some of everything, you know, just pulling from here, pulling from there, so that we can be successful. And then we would take whatever success we was blessed to achieve to our people. So they would never have to go through the little small steps or failures. We can just say, look, this is what worked.
And that's what I was going to say, and that's why it's named Your Faith Farms, and it's plural. It's not ours, it's yours, right? And the plural is because there was the desire to help others at the beginning. And so now there are farms all over that Your Faith Farms had some participation, you know, in them becoming a reality. And so, you know, if your cup runneth over, it's because you keep pouring it out. So the more we kept blessing others, our cup just kept getting refilled. We bless somebody else, and it just kept coming, getting refilled. And so, just trying to be as close to the character of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, and that's what drives us. And one of our prayers that, you know, our statements in our prayer is allow us to be an example of Islam in focus.
A righteous example.
Right. When they hear the name Muhammad in this area, by Allah's grace, it's with reverence, it's with respect, it's with love, admiration, because we do our best. When the minister blessed the nation with that name, we have to strive to be worthy of praise.
Right.
Which means there's some action behind the name. There's good deeds behind the name. If not, why are you're not worthy of any praise? So we have been working, you know, that's our daily work. We get up to make sure that Allah is pleased. And if he's pleased, inshallah, we get another day. We pray for one day at a time.
That's right. One day
at a time is our prayer.
Praise be to Allah. Beautiful, beautiful. I love the response. And I love the inspiration, because it is not only inspires our nation, but it inspires our people as well, because, you know, we got to get our own land. We got to start producing our own. And the only way to do that is to get started. So I definitely appreciate that. And at this time, I'll turn it over to Brother West, who has some questions for you both, Brother West.
Praise be to Allah. Thank you. I'm already enjoying this episode. I want to open up in the name of Allah, the beneficent, the merciful. I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and that Muhammad is his messenger. Assalamu alaikum, family.
Wa alaikum salam, sir.
Praise be to Allah. So I know you all were describing how you came to purchase the farm and ultimately make it your lifestyle, but I wanted to know how do you balance life on your land while still having the responsibilities of the mosque, raising your children, and other things that may interfere with what goes into having a farm?
I think we just have a make it happen spirit because, like I said before, we are the help. You know, at times we will have people that will come and offer help if we're having a big event. There's some brothers that will come and sisters, my family. But for the most part, it's the 5 of us. And we have, because you have the desire. When you have a desire, you will stop at nothing to get it done. So we just don't make it, we don't make any excuses. We know that we have to check the eggs. We have to check the eggs. If not, then a snake will come or a coyote will come. So these are things that you just can't push to the side. I go to work in the morning. I work maybe 5 minutes from here. I teach up until 3 o'clock or 4. I will come home. I get my workout at the same time, walking up and down my driveway, talking to the animals. When Brother Patrick get up in the morning, he does most of the work. When Brother Patrick get up in the morning, he feed the animals. He call the horses. He's checking on everything. Or when I'm driving in the morning going to work, he'll say, Ish, can you check and see if the horses are down there? Do you see the cows? So if we see manure on the road, then we know that, oh, somebody's out. So we're just working and we make no excuses. We just get it done.
And I would echo that. One of the reasons that I have energy that I can't explain is because I have the best helpmate on the planet, right? She energizes me, and I never want to disappoint my blessing.
I'm not disappointed.
And all praise you to Allah. And in that, it's likewise with my children because they are the blessing. And so I try my best to show responsibility because I know I'm responsible. At every morning, I know at the property, there's about 63 heartbeats that I'm responsible for every day. And that's from the dogs to the cats, to the chickens, to the horses, to the cows. Like I know so I by Allah's grace, you get a point where you can feel when something's out of order, right? And I'll go to work and I'm like, you know what? Something just don't feel right. And lo and behold, a few minutes later, my dogs are ran to Publix or the cows down at the neighborhood school. And then, we've been blessed. Ishtar works 5 minutes away. I work 6 minutes away. I run a charter school. I'm responsible for 540 children. I have 73 staff members, over 2,000 parents that I deal with every day. And but I thank Allah that He gives us the energy to keep going, right? And oftentimes when we leave work, we have things here, children playing soccer or children using our field, or we're teaching our 4-H horse classes, or we have something on the weekend, or there's an event coming, or we're running our farmers market around the corner for the city of South Florida. So like we go. And as far as a relationship, we have to be able to give and take, right? There are certain expectations that we have of each other, but we have to be mindful. Thursday night, it's lesson plan night. Like I can't bother her let's play night. She got to turn up let's plays in, right? Mondays, I have board meetings. I have to have my mind right to go talk about the budget and how much money we spent at the school. So we have a great give and take of each other because we know the weight and the responsibility that we carry. So,
and that's a good point. When, like Patrick said, he knows that we know each other's schedule. So if Patrick's in board meeting, if I notice that a cow's out or a horse is out or the gate is open, Allah has blessed us to show our children how to run a farm. So if my son is here, I don't have to worry about calling Brother Patrick because now my son is old enough. He'll say, Mom, I get it. Let me get some horse feed. You grab this and then you grab that. He's giving me instructions. But because I respect him and the knowledge that he gained from his father, I fall in. Okay, do what, son? Okay, do this, hit the bucket. So he's guiding me onto what to do, even though I may know what to do. But to let them lead, it builds their confidence and increases their faith. And then he's putting the animals back in. I don't have to call Brother Patrick and say the dogs are out or this happened, stress him out at work. So whatever I can do to alleviate any stress on him, and it's vice versa. If it's time for us to harvest the garden, I would come home and on my shelf or my table, I would have a whole feast of food, vegetables that Patrick harvests. He doesn't wait to say, oh, no, that's your role or that's your job. Mm. If he's out there and I'm pulling up in a driveway, I will pull up, go and I will eat fresh food in the garden with Brother Patrick. And we would just think a lot at that moment, you know, because everything we're doing, we learn to appreciate and love Allah so much more. We have fallen so much in love with his creation, the little bugs, the harmony of the farm. Yeah, when I tell you, it's so amazing.
And last thing I'll say on this question is, when we compare it to the weight that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has to carry, oh my goodness,
this is nothing.
Right, this is nothing, right? It's so we have a little microcosm of our solar system, right? Each believer has a universe that they're responsible for, their solar system, you know, their work environment, their living environment. And as Muslims, we should be the sun. We should be the light of our community. And those things revolve around the energy of the Muslims. Likewise, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. The minister is he's our light, right? He strikes our equator and makes us move. He struck us on number 36. It made us move, right, at a terrific speed. And so likewise, each Muslim should be reflecting the light of the sun in your own community and in your system. And so we just strive every day to be like the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and Mother Khadijah Farrakhan.
One thing I want to add real quickly is that you cannot burden yourself with tasks that you cannot get done within that day. Right. Because there's a lot of things that may go on. You know, we may have the intention of cutting the grass or the intentions of washing our horses or whatever. But if we don't get it done, that's not the time for me to get mad at Patrick. He doesn't get mad at me. We'll just put it off to the next day. So we realize that we can't do everything at one time. If it has to wait to the weekend, then it's going to wait to the weekend. And we have that understanding.
So, and we've had to, our counterparts, I mean, for a long time, I served as assistant minister in Atlanta. I couldn't at any point be responsible for all the tasks at the mosque. You know, some days I might cut grass for 4 days straight, and I'm still cutting grass. You call me in the morning, what you doing cutting grass? You call me the next day, I'm still cutting grass. It's 31 acres. I can't cut that after school in 30 minutes, right? You know, if I have to repair a fence, one summer we put up, oh my God, we put up 2,800 feet of fence. Just us during Ramadan, right? And so one of the things Wayne said to us when we were looking to purchase our farm, he said, buy the farm that you and your family can maintain. If anybody else comes, that's a blessing. But you cannot count on everybody at 3 o'clock in the morning when you hear something mooing and the cows are walking down the road. And I got a couple brothers I could call, but I don't want to burden them. It's not their burden, right? We have to get up. Somebody ran into our fence the other day. I'm coming home. I see some manure in the road. I'm like, why is there manure in the road? I see my cow standing at the gate trying to get in. I can't figure out how they got out. Someone ran and knocked down like 70 feet of fencing and kept going, right? So then we couldn't find the horses and, you know, so by Allah's grace, our energy comes from Allah.
Yes, sir. Praise be to Allah. That sounds like a great family that you all have built for yourselves. And that actually leads me into my next question, because I can definitely see that you all have a great bond between you. And even in the video, I see that you all are very close knit. So I wanted to know how you both met and what made you decide to pursue courtship and ultimately decide to get married.
You want to go? You want to
Okay. Well, where did we start?
Okay, so I'm not from Atlanta. I'm from East St. Louis, Illinois. And I went to school at Kentucky State University in Frankfort, Kentucky. I accepted the teachings right after the Million Man March. I went to the Million Man March as a college student. I was able to take a whole bus worth of my colleagues from college to the Million Man March. My first time hearing the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan live. I'm like 2 retention ponds to the back, and it was inspiring. Long story short, I accept the teachings, get very active in Kentucky, and I moved to Atlanta 5/5/97. No, 5/10 Mother's Day, 1997. So I was here like a year or so, soldiering. And one day, I had seen Sister Ishtar and her family. Now they deep now. When they come to the mosque, it's like 2 busloads worth of Brother Sammy and his children. I'm just teasing. But, you know, it was just the Brother Sammy and his family. Like, that was just how they were known, Brother Sammy and his family. And so I'd seen Sister Ishtar. This is Brother Sammy's children and one of his daughters. And Brother Herman, may Allah be pleased with him, mentioned to me one day, he's like, man, that's going to be your wife. I was like, oh, it's like 9 people in white garments, brother. And as time permits, she just kept catching my eye from the work that she was, you know, doing in the mosque. And my father-in-law, may Allah be pleased with him, we became close as, you know, FOI. And as a mentor, I really respected my father-in-law. Before he was my father, Brother Sam was just Brother Sam. He knew everything. And my family wasn't here. So I leaned on Brother Samuel as a big brother, and he brought me in as a big brother, thus brings me into the family. Now, for all those that's single out there, I'm going to say this part, and I'm going to let Ishtar. I asked for Sister Ishtar a year before she said yes. And at some point, the communication came back. Listen, single brothers out there. The communication came back that she was not interested, right? And so I didn't get mad at the sister. I said, well, it must be something that I need to improve upon so that I will get a yes. And so within that year, I was already employed, but I got gainfully employed with benefits. I purchased a house. I got a job in January 98. I purchased a house in January 98. I was like, I got me a second job. You know, at that point, I was already assistant minister. I said, well, maybe I got to get this, you know, both sides. So I became the assistant minister in the second office at the same time. So I was like, okay, I would show the sister I can multitask, you know. And so that year, I just really went into preparing myself for the sister that I truly believe was the sister made in heaven for me. And then I'll pause right there.
So silly. All right.
Yes, sir. And sister, did you want to add anything?
I hope so.
Yes, I just want to say that I didn't know that Brother Patrick asked for me a year, you know, within that, I think the year before.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't really looking for marriage because my mother was sick, and I was caring for my mother. I was an active vanguard. I was working at Blackstone, which is a Muslim school. So I was juggling a lot at that time, and I felt like I was too young. I felt like I wasn't ready, but I guess the prayers that Brother Patrick sent up to Allah was being answered. All of a sudden, I heard Brother Patrick speak off the rostrum, and I happened to be on post that day. And as I was listening to him, I said, this brother is studying. Everything he's saying, you know, it resonates in your soul. And I could tell that he was studious. So the more I would listen, that's when I went to my father and I said, tell me more about this brother. And my dad knew at that point something was going on because I never asked him about any brother. Even the brothers previously that would ask for courtship, I wasn't interested. The answer was always no. You know, I was focused on my God, focused on developing myself spiritually and, you know, just working on myself and caring for my mother, teaching my students. So the more I would hear Brother Patrick speak, you know, I never tried to be in his face. I was always off to the side, but I was studying him and I was listening for certain words that he would say, waiting for the Spirit of Allah to move me. And I was still very reserved, still waiting. And then one day, I've noticed that Brother Patrick started hanging around my father a little more, but a lot of brothers did. So when he would come to the house, I would go upstairs and I was always out the way. And then one day my captain called and she told me about this brother that put in a request for courtship and that he wrote an entire thesis. And I said, thesis? So we was laughing and she said, no, sister, this brother actually wrote a letter for you. He requested you with a letter. And it was a very profound letter. So, right after a while, I knew I had to see it. And I was like, I guess. And she said, no, either you are interested or you're not. And I wanted to know who was the brother. What am I saying yes to? And then when she said Brother Patrick, I started to smile. And at that point, that's when she let me read the letter. And I was in tears, because who would go to this extent for someone unless he was sent by Allah? So at that point, even then, I still didn't say yes to Brother Patrick. I had to go pray. I had to go seek refuge. I took all my feelings and everything to Allah. And I prayed for a man like my father with those similar qualities, a brother like the minister, a brother like the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, and of course, a brother that could show me the relationship he had with God. So in that, because I was not a fast sister and I was very patient, you know, even though everybody was trying to get in my ear, I had to listen to Allah's voice. So waiting for Allah, he guided me, because at that point, my whole spirit was turning towards making myself ready for courtship. And I didn't even know that all this time, caring for my mother, caring for my sisters and brothers, teaching them how to do the best thing in the right way, being a righteous example. I didn't know that Allah was conditioning me at that time to become a wife and to become a mother. You know, even though it's our nature as women to be a teacher, all of this was just, Allah was just transforming me, and I had no idea. So when that right word was spoken, it was at that point, I mean, I thank Allah. Up to this day, I'm so grateful. This is I'm not faking, just thinking about Brother Patrick, how sweet of a person he is to me. I was telling him this morning that I thank God that I never had to cry out to Allah because he was disrespectful. You know, he's not abusive. This is my partner, my best friend. Whenever I feel like I can't, Brother Patrick make me feel like I can. And I remember just any challenge I have, Brother Patrick made me feel like I can do it. And I love that about him, because I'm that person to other people and to him. So when it's my turn to receive that, oh my God, I felt so worthy and I was so thankful. And I told Brother Patrick this morning, I said, I just want to tell you that I pray that you have a crown, that Allah bless you with a crown with full of jewels, because you have been nothing but a sweet husband. Very motivating. And I remember I was about to take the state exam, and then I'm going to leave this part alone. And I was studying because I wanted to become a teacher, a certified teacher. So I was studying, and it was so stressful because I was in school. My children were in MUI. It was so much stuff going on. And I just kept telling myself, I don't know it. It's not, I have to study more. It's not enough. When I went to greet Brother Patrick, we said prayer. And when I kissed him to leave, he said, Ish, you passed. And I said, pass what, Patrick? He said, you passed. And I said, sweetie, no, I did not. I haven't even taken the test. He said, you got to believe you passed. And I was just like, oh my God, I took the test. I mean, I was crying on my way to take the assessment because he's just so positive. He could have said, yeah, you probably should have studied a little bit more. Or I don't see you with flashcards. You know, he was just so positive. And all this time, 25 years later, I never see the negative side of Brother Patrick. So it's easy for me to be a helpmeet to someone that shows me God. You know, I can see and believe more in Allah because of what I receive, which I'm so thankful for.
Thank you.
Wow, that was definitely a great story. And I wanted to let you know, you both have the chat spilling over. We have Brother Thomas. He said, Assalamu alaikum, Brother Patrick. The Shahila said, yes, that was Brother Samuel's family, and we was deep. So I thought that was pretty interesting. And speaking of the chat, we have a question from Sister Cynthia Muhammad. And she says, Assalamu alaikum. Where did you purchase the animals, and how did you learn to take care of them, having no experience?
All praise due to Allah. Our first purchase came with Wayne. Wayne took us to his source in his truck and his trailer, and his requirement was that we spend some time. So Wayne is still I talk to Wayne at least once a week. If we go too long, something's wrong. But he allowed me to, and my son and the brothers, to shadow him and learn. And then once we learned the way, then we became partners in tag team. I would call him about some animals. He'll call me about some animals. And then we just learned through action. You know, you go to a place to buy some sheep, and you see needles and all kinds of stuff on the ground. Them sheep not healthy. And we got to a point where, like, you can smell death. Like you can go to play and I can smell death. I can look at the pasture and see that it's all dirt. They don't have any grass. That means those animals got worms, right? Or I'll go where there's too much grass and they're not getting enough nourishment. Or I'll go where there's too much density, right? My motto now is less is best. At some point, we had 40 cows out here. That was amazing. I could call and they come running. It was cute, right? But then when the winter came and I was spending $1,600 every 2 weeks to feed 40 cows in the winter, that wasn't too good. That's why we started selling meat. It was like, oh, we had all these cows. They were pretty. But I was like, what are we doing with them? So we began to sell meat, right? But over time, we've learned, how to source animals. We don't go to auctions to get animals. Just know if they take it to the auction, they don't want it anymore, right? So we don't go to the auction to buy animals. We look for farmers. We buy in the winter. The winter is a good time to buy because there's people that used to be like Brother Patrick that had too many animals, and they'll sell you a good animal in the winter because they don't want to feed it, right? Or they can't afford to feed it. We learned that German Shepherds and Belgian Malinois and Presa Canaries were not the right animal, the dog to have around livestock. Why? Because I was in a domestic violence relationship with a Presa Canary and it had killed all my animals, but I loved her so much I was in denial. Now we only do Great Pyrenees, okay? Because Great Pyrenees have been proven to be the right animal. So some trial and error, failing forward, listening to that God within. Like I can take anyone in my family and we can walk outside with some bulls. And we know, if y'all listen to, I know you have, but listen to Fear, Faith, and Truth, where the minister talks about that bull. Hearing on the video time and time again, you hear the minister and we're like, that's the minister, right? That's the God and the minister. And it is. And now that we've been faced with being in the presence of animals, there's a certain distance and level of respect, right? If I'm walking up to a bull and I don't break my stride, we have dominion over the fish and the fowl, the beast of the, right? So if I don't break my stride, that bull will submit to me. He'll tuck his head down, he'll turn, and he's going to turn around. But if you show an inkling of fear, then you'll be like those viral videos where somebody's running and the bull is hitting them in the air. That's the same with cows. That's the same with goats and sheep. I like sheep. I don't really like goats, right? Because goats are hard-headed, stiff-necked, and rebellious, right? But sheep, you move one sheep, you can move 100 sheep. I love horses. They're a heart animal. They really feel your spirit. They can calm you down. They can bring you up. They can console you. And then you can ride them at the end of the day. So it's been an experience, trial, and it's not error, though. It's just trial and learning. Mm-hmm. Trial and learning. And then now when people come and they ask us about, hey, we want to buy, they don't have to have our 8-9 year trial. I tell them, no, here's my source. I'm going to tell you what to do. Listen to me. I'm not doing this to make you not be successful. If I tell you something, I'm telling you something to be successful the first time, because we've gone through those situations along the way.
I just want to add that, let me see, where do you purchase the animals? Brother Patrick is a very good negotiator. So he looks online and he finds maybe animals within a herd, and he talked them down on prices, or he'll trade animals. So sometimes we'll barter. If there's a cow that Patrick's trying to buy, but they want a horse, then he would make that type of trade. Mm-hmm. So I've been watching what he was doing. I like it. Yeah. So anyway, I would watch him just trade like that. Sometimes it wasn't even money exchange. It was just maybe trading the animals, or if it was a trailer that they wanted, that was the value of maybe a herd of sheep. Mm-hmm. So he would get those. And then it depends on what you're looking for. I wanted to study the sheep where you can actually shear them. Mm-hmm. So at one point, that's the direction we was going in. And then he was looking for meat, sheep, right.
Suffolk.
We was studying Our Savior Has Arrived and making notes and thinking about what the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Message to the Black Man, what he wanted for our people, which was to be able to raise the animals, the sheep, the lamb, the chicken, and then sell them to our people for a cheaper price. But you're getting not, I would say halal, but you were getting pretty much an organic type of meat, because we wanted to make sure whatever the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad's desire is what our goal is. So we weren't trying to make money off of it. I mean, people would come, even if they didn't have food, they could come and shop in our freezer. They would get fresh lamb, beef. We don't even eat meat like that, but we was giving them good meat because we're trying to follow what Allah has put in place. Right. So because we was following what he put in place, as Patrick getting the animals, I'm taking notes on what they should eat. So I would say that it's kind of easy to control animals that you feed. Oh yeah. If you're feeding them, then they're gonna come where you go. So if Patrick walking in the field, it look like he's the Pied Piper. Is that what you call him? They're following him because he has food. So it's easy for us to control them when you have food, and then we also have the love of God, and we don't have no intentions on beating them. Yes. So if it's the day that they have to go to slaughter, then we'll pray by a tree, because we know that the intention for this animal may be to save someone's life or to offer them food. It wasn't for the money. We were trying to experience and reduplicate what the most honorable Elijah Muhammad showed us in the first. Okay, so we were trying to see if he said this is the way, then we're going to make sure this is the way. So we tried some of everything. And I think I'm trying to answer your questions. The last one, the treatments of animals. That's it. We treat them with love, like we do our children. We don't hit and beat animals and have to use electricity, and we don't do that. Right, because we love Allah. Everything we do is governed by what Allah, the way He governs us is through love, peace, freedom, justice, and equality. So, the same thing Patrick would do to his horses. He does it to the dogs, the cows. If something's wrong, I seen him. He become a veterinarian. Patrick have skills. He would go and find medicine, or he would go get penicillin from Tractor Supply and doctor on these animals. We would talk life and we would pray over these animals. So it's just having that love, knowing that these creatures belong to Allah. That's right. So we want to make sure we're doing everything in a line for Allah, because Allah blessed us to be caretakers of these animals, and we don't want to be found mistreating His animals. And the last part I'll say, so you can go to the next question, is when you are in line, Allah hides your flaws. So my cows might not know what I'm doing. My horses, we break horses. I haven't been to school to learn how to break a horse, right? But with love, every horse out here we can ride. And faith, I really thought Patrick was trying to really hurt himself or commit suicide when I learned that he was breaking horses. And I said, brother, I think you really are you sure? You don't need to break a horse. Let the other guy do it. Pay someone. I was trying to pass the torch to everyone else, but I went in the house and came back out, and my husband and my son was riding this wild horse. And I just said, look at God. Oh my gosh. I don't think I would ever do it, but to see Brother Patrick and my son on a horse, and now we do his faith is going up here. His faith by Allah's grace.
Praise be to Allah. That's a wonderful testament of your faith indeed. And before I go to Station ID, I have one more question. I wanted to ask, since starting the farm in 2014, I know that your family and lives have changed tremendously indeed. So I wanted to know if you can tell us the names of all of your animals, if you have named them, and also the plants you've managed to grow.
So everything has a name, Brother West. This is true. Oh, Lord. I'm going to say cows first. Medea, Wahida.
Listen to these names. Go ahead.
Medea, Wahida, Sugar, Cappuccino, Mocha, and then horses, Mansa Musa, Marimi, Dippin' Dot, Royal, Godiva, Adult, Honey, Sweet Tea, Solomon, and then Fluffy, Champ, Itty Bitty, Bella.
These are the dogs, the white dogs.
Bear. We don't name it chickens, but we got a whole lot of chickens. We don't name we don't name it chickens. Or the sheep, because
one sheep we did name, and her name was Nutu.
Mm-hmm. We had a bottle
but her name was Nutu because she was her mother gave birth to her, and she was a twin. The mother and the twin passed away
at somebody else's farm.
At someone else's farm. So Patrick adopted this. Patrick adopted this baby sheep, and he had to bottle feed her. So he would take her to work. He would bring her home around the clock. He was literally bottle feeding this sheep. So, of course, when you see that, it just made me fall more and more and more in love with Patrick, because he could have said, oh, this is an animal and just leave it outside. But he brought this sheep in. She was in our shoe room. She couldn't go no further. But he was taking her to the school at work. For 3 months. And then we were making warm milk for her. He would come home. I would have to get milk ready. He would feed her. I mean, he would hold her and feed her. So after a while, when we weaned her from the bottle, when we would come home, she would never go with the other animals. She followed her daddy, which was Patrick.
I think she thought she was a human.
She followed him everywhere. And I thought it was the cutest thing. Wherever he would go, she would just go and be with him. So I thought it was the cutest thing, or the children, because she just kind of felt like she was a human. And I thought it was the most funniest thing. And I thought it was so sweet. Each time I would see him, he would hold her, or my boys, I would hold her. We just knew that we had to save his life. We could not let her die. So by no means, everyone had to work. When I came home from work, I had a bottle ready. Patrick had students helping him at work. So the children was helping him around the clock. And it was the sweetest thing. So, and I think the other animals kind of sensed that.
On the vegetable side, okra, butternut squash,
hibiscus,
eggplant, hibiscus, motherland okra, tomatoes forever, watermelon, cantaloupe,
eggplant.
I said the eggplant, garlic, the minister's garlic.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, hey, if you don't know it, the garlic is about to be released from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan's farm. This is what you do. Go ahead and order you 2 sets. If it comes in 3 pounds, order you 6 pounds, okay? You're only going to take 4 pounds, and you're going to use that 4 pounds in your kitchen for your medicinal. But you're going to take another one of those pounds, or 1.5 pounds. You're going to break those cloves up. You're going to plant them on October the 7th, on the messenger's birthday, and you're going to harvest them on July 4th, and it's going to multiply. And that's the holy garlic. So we do that every year. That's just a plug for the garlic with the commercial. We have honeybees. Of course, we have eggs. We do our worms. We have a worm. We do our compost. We have fruit trees, apple trees, peach trees, pear trees, plum trees, persimmon trees, pecan trees.
We never planted the pecan trees. That was here.
That was here when we got here.
We have at least, 9?
That's probably about 18.
We probably have 18.
Black walnut trees.
Pecan trees. People just come and pick. We don't eat any of the nuts, but we allow people to come pick the walnuts. They come and pick the pecans, pears, everything. We have figs and the figs. I've canned the figs, some of the produce that was extra. And then we have one plant. We have a few medicinal plants. But what's the one that you can put on like a Band-Aid?
Lamb's ear.
We have a lamb's ear.
Some people call it mullein.
It's like a lamb's ear. Oh, muscadine, right. We have muscadine. Thank you, Brother Mark. Peaches. Thank you, Brother Mark.
Mark D knows about
blackberries.
Yeah, blueberries.
We have salt and pepper cucumbers.
Yeah, salt and pepper cucumbers.
Yes.
And the hibiscus, a lot of people wait for the flower, but you actually can eat the leaf. Oh my God. And the leaf is just as sweet. It
pears.
Just a little bit. So to answer that, Brother West, we grow a lot.
Yes, sir. I honestly thought you all were naming the items at a grocery store after a second, but that was a lot of produce indeed. So with that, I'll go to my station ID. Remember, family, you are listening to WHID-FM. Thank you for tuning in and spending your valuable time, because without you, there is no WHID-FM. If you have any suggestions, please feel free to email us at WHID1919@gmail.com. And also, please subscribe to WHID-FM on YouTube and follow us on Facebook. And family, we are still collecting the guests for next week. So inshallah, if we have it by the end of the show, we will announce that at a later time. And with that, I'll go to my next question, which is actually from a sister in the audience. And this is from Sister Shahida. She wants to know, how do you heal after losing an animal on the farm? I wanted to know that as well. So I'm curious to know.
That's an excellent question.
That's a very good question. Thank you, Shahida.
Yeah. So one of the valuable lessons that we have learned and we love to share is on the farm and in life and death travel on the same path. All day, life's job is to outwit death. Death's job is to outwit life, right? And so you'll see an animal in the morning doing fine, especially goats and sheep. They're doing fine. And then is that sheep laying down? And before you know it, gone, right? And so initially, especially with Queen, with the Presicaria, some of that was Queen was killing our animals, right? So we quickly learned, right? But I remember we lost a cow to Queen, of course. But the family was at work, right? Our very first cow. None of our Piney Woods ever died because Wayne guided us on a very hardy animal. It was like it's foolproof. Like you can't mess up with a Piney Wood, right? But Queen killed a cow. Okay. And everybody was at work. I didn't have a tractor yet. All I had was my truck. And this cow was like 1,200 pounds, right? So one, I'm like, it's a big dead something. Like it's dead, y'all. And it's huge, right? And so I didn't want my family to see it. So I took my F-150 truck. I pulled it over. I dug a six because I didn't know. All I heard was the graves was 6 feet deep. I didn't know. So I dug a 6 foot deep grave with a shovel for a cow. So I dug it. I'm digging, trying to beat time before Ishtar and the children come home. Well, I dug the ditch, but I dug the ditch of grave, and the cow was still about 50 feet away. I was like, I'm gonna get this cow over here. And so I had to tie the cow to the truck, and then I didn't want to hurt it. But then I realized it was dead. It was like, I can't hurt it anymore. You know, you go through all those emotions, and then I'm like, do I bury it close? Do I take it far? Do I burn it? You know, all kind of stuff. Anyway, that experience and the experience of the loss of life has taught us how to value the breath of life. Because in the twinkling of an eye, life leaves that body. Mm-hmm. And so as we have experienced the loss of loved ones, humans, it's prepared us because we've experienced death with something that we love. You know, we love our animals. So when you lose one and you know you have done your all, then Allah soothes that pain because you have done your all. Now, if you didn't say, I love you to that aunt when she passed away, or you didn't say, Mom, I care for you now that's pain. But if you give your all while that entity is still breathing, then you won't have the pain of the grief of the loss. And so we've had that experience. Now we're doing pretty good. We haven't lost any, we
lost. I remember my son horse, Gypsy.
Gypsy.
When we lost Gypsy and our dog Sandy. So thank you for the question, Shahida. I didn't think we would have these type of emotions. We all cried. I mean, my son horse, somehow he got caught inside of a spirit. Spirit.
And Gypsy. Okay. Spirit, Gypsy the second. 2
of his horses passed away at different times, but Spirit was the type of horse everybody wanted. Mm-hmm. I mean, my son can tell her to stay, and he would walk around a block and come back, and she would still be right there, waiting for him to come back. She was just so obedient because he groomed her, and she could feel the love from him and all of us. But then one day her hoof got caught inside of a wire fence. Mm-hmm. And we watched the vet wanted to take her life that night. So we was like, no, let's just wait. We tried to pray. We bought a artificial hoof. Mm-hmm. I mean, we tried to do everything to save her life. But we prayed, when she stopped walking, we were sitting down praying over her, crying, because that was my son's horse. I mean, that was one of the hardest. It's hard when you lose a loved one. But when you lose an animal that cannot tell you how it's feeling,
and she lived 4 months with 3 hooves. And
Patrick was doctoring her, giving her antibiotics. We were just caring for her around the clock. Mm-hmm. And it was one of the hardest things. And I was like, oh my God, we're crying over a horse. Just being on the farm. What was it?
That's the cow.
Being on the farm, it kind of it changed your whole entire reality. Mm-hmm. Like if I was still living in the Lakes of Cedar Grove, if my dog would have passed away, it would have been like, oh, that's so terrible. Can I get a new one? But over here, when your animals are your family, you grow in love with these animals because you have a deeper appreciation for Allah. Mm-hmm. But once you accept what Allah has done, that's it. Yeah. You have to accept. We learn to accept what Allah has done. because his will would happen no matter what. So when we learned to accept it, it was a lot easier, but it didn't stop, eventually we grew past the pain, because then we would find another adorable animal, or somebody would drop off someone else, but you would never forget.
Yeah. And I would say this part, we talk, I'm a soldier, I'm a fighter. All right. When you see death, or you have to take a life, and I'm not talking about human life, but you have to take a life, sacrifice a life. Life don't leave with ease. Everything is fighting to keep that life, right? So either you fight to keep, or you don't fight. So when that coyote is coming, the sheep don't sit there and say, "Oh, come get me." That sheep running for his life. I've seen a sheep try to run and die from heart attack, because it was so scared. It was scared to death, right? So life is a fleeting moment. So I got to share this part. So my dog is named Champ, and he's my man. He's my Great Pyrenees, my first Great Pyrenees. He's the man. Well, he's like, yeah, he's your dog. He's my dog. He's my dog. Champ died, you all, for 3 days. I'm gonna come into the screen because y'all don't think I said what I just said. But Champ was dead for 3 days. And it was cold in Atlanta, and I didn't want to bury him because it was too cold. It was like 19 degrees. It was too cold. We don't get that kind of cold. And so I placed him in an area, and I told the family on like the second day, because Champ was our man. So we got sad. We went to a hotel. We didn't want to stay at home. And I called an old mentor, because when I went to bury Champ, I thought I saw a light in his eye. And I called one of my mentors, because you got to have mentors, you all. You got to have somebody who knows more than you. So I called him. I said, "Man," I said, "This Pat, I ain't crazy, but my dog been dead for 3 days." And I think I saw light in his eyes. He said, "Oh, nephew, ain't nothing wrong with that. As long as he got brain activity, you can bring him back." And so we hit him with some penicillin. He told me to hit him with 400 penicillin. I hit him with 800 penicillin. Champ finally came back, you all. And Mark D is on here. Champ, it took him about 2 weeks to learn how to walk again.
Can I interject before you? Okay, so all I know is that I was heading to MGT class. I seen my husband and my son tapping Champ. Champ is like our main dog, and he's been here forever. I seen him doing something. When I learned that he died, I'm on my way to class, trying to fight back tears. We was praying. I prayed. I didn't know that my husband was praying. I didn't know that my son was praying. We all were at different places. My daughter was praying. All of us was praying at the same time for this particular dog. I'm on my way going to class. I'm praying to Allah. Blessed to have a beautiful MGT class. Then I go ahead and squeeze in everything else about my dog. And I didn't know that we all was praying at different times. See, that's what the farm life does. When you start to expand your breast, and you fall more in love with Allah, you fall more in love with his life. Mm-hmm. So I just wanted to add that part, that I didn't know that we all was praying until later on that night. And then Patrick shared with me this part.
And so my youngest son, when we're going through with Champ, he kind of bounced back. He said, "Well, I thought as long as you can get to the body within 24 hours, right?" So we've heard that before, right? And so to hear our children believe, and then to see it action, the power of prayer, you all. Champ here now. Mark D came one day, right? So I didn't want to tell anybody the story, because I was like, ain't nobody gonna believe me. So Mark D comes by the house one day, and Champ's right there. He said, "That dog smell like death." I said, "Well, he's been dead." So, but Champ's out here now. Champ got babies all over the country. He's a very producing Great Pyrenees, but just love, you all. It's just love. I'll end it with that. Just love. Just love.
All praises due to Allah. What a wonderful story indeed. And my next question before I turn it back over to Sister Janine, I noticed that a lot of you, besides you, Brother Patrick, of course, have names that start with Ish. So I wonder, is that something that you planned from the beginning, or did you just notice that the names you felt fit your children just started with that word, that Ish?
That was Patrick. Patrick, I believe he thinks that my name is so unique. My name is Ishtar, renamed Muhammad. I have a total of 19 letters in my name. So when I had my daughter, we prayed for her and we fasted. The minister asked, well, he told us it was a meeting, not just with us personally, but it was what was it? It was something that he shared that if ask Allah for what you want and ask it to be a blessing to you. So we fasted and I wanted to conceive a girl because my mother had recently passed away.
And my sister.
My mother passed away. His sister passed away within that same year or two. And I just wanted to try what the minister said. So we prayed and I wanted her to be born on my mother's birthday as a sign. It's just a prayer. We put it out there. We prayed, we fasted. Allah blessed my daughter to be born July 29th. She beat the clock by, I believe, 6 minutes. And when we had Isla, we was thinking about how can we give her back to Allah. So we was looking at different Islamic names. I was trying to find something with a P. Patrick was trying to find something with an I. So we fell in love with Isla and we added an H so that she can have at least 19 letters in her name also, which equals Maryam in the Quran. And likewise with my son, before we ever thought about conceiving, we always prayed to Allah and asked him first before trying or anything like that. So and their names also has what, 20? Is it 23?
No, all the boys are 22.
22.
And so Isla is the reformer and the corrector. Isijah is the one Allah lends, and my father actually found Isijah's name. And Istafa is the one God has chosen. And so they're named after her. I love the lady, so we just named them all Ish. And then my name is Patrick. It's people take holy names. I'm just Brother Patrick. Patrick Ish. I don't know.
There's nothing wrong with Patrick. I love Patrick.
So I just Brother Patrick. So
Patrick is nice.
Yes, sir. That's great to know. And with that, we'll go back over to you, Sister Janine.
Yes, thank you for the West. I just want to ask, I know we're short on time, and I know, family, we have a lot of other questions in the chat, and I apologize we can't get to all of them tonight, but that just means we have to have them back on, which inshallah, we can work that out in the future. One question I do want to ask is, you all mentioned your medicinal garden that you have, I believe. Is there anything that you learned about having a medicinal garden? Like you may say, well, I have this plant, I didn't know the power of the healing of this plant or this plant. Can you tell us about the medicinal garden?
I'm only going to stay with the garlic. That garlic wall, now that's the garlic is it. It's all you need, right? Through COVID, I know COVID and the pandemic was, treacherous, and I'll be pleased with those that lost their lives. During the pandemic, we ate out of the garden.
Mm-hmm. Out
of the garden, right? And we ate our garlic. We followed the protocols that the Nation of Islam guided, and we ate straight out of the garden every day. And it was a blessing to be home. And because we followed the instruction in 2014 during the pandemic, we made tremendous progress because we didn't have to do our jobs and leave the farm every day. We were able to dedicate almost a whole year to the farm. Of course, we have
moringa. Mm-hmm. So we were growing moringa, and we was making tea out of the moringa, which is good. I think it's good for weight loss and diabetes and so much other stuff. We had basil, oregano, peppermint tea, all types of teas, and we had the hibiscus. We learned that the hibiscus. We learned that the hibiscus tea was really good. And my son, when he did come home from Morehouse, I remember he had these allergies and he was just sniffling. We gave him a piece of hibiscus leaf. It was just a leaf, cleared it up. So whenever they would start feeling like they was getting sick, we would sit them out in the garden and we would just pick the leaves, rinse it and eat the leaf. And you could taste the vitamin C inside the moringa. Not the moringa, but the hibiscus. And of course, you can make the tea out of the hibiscus also.
Praise be to Allah. Now, before I turn it over to Brother West, I have the last question. People have been asking that the garlic, when you said you purchase it from the farm, how do you purchase it?
You can Each city has a representative. Our representative is Mark D. Muhammad. Brother Tadaro Muhammad is a representative. But if you contact your local officials at your mosque or study group, then they have the contact with the Michigan Forum to place your order.
Yes, sir. Praise be to Allah. And I believe Brother West has one more question for you. So I'll turn it over to you, Brother West, to ask your final question.
Yes, ma'am. I actually had so many more questions. I feel like this has been one of our best shows in a while, really. But if I had to pick one, I definitely have to ask, what has Islam done for you?
Oh, wow. You want to take that one?
We both can. I was blessed to be born in the nation. My parents was in the first. If it wasn't for Islam, I know that there would not be any Ishtar. Everything that we have been given was the truth, the Quran, how to eat to live, books 1 and 2, no matter what people are thinking or no matter what people are saying, until you apply it and you try it. This is it. God will be done no matter to whom or what. So no matter what people are thinking, it just shows the separation that we're going through, because either you're going to make it or you're not. Even if I don't make it, I pray that my children or someone that I have touched make it. You know what I mean? So I know that the Islam that I received, where would I be? I mean, we would have all types of diseases. Just being guarded as far as or following that faith, following the minister is the best thing I have ever done in my life. I would never, ever want to pivot away or let someone deter me because of their nonsense or because of their lack of faith or their lack of knowledge. At the end, we'll see, because it's the proof is right there.
Yeah.
You know, and I know in our lives, I know what it has done for me and the success and the peace that I have. No one can take that away because only God gave it. And that's one thing that my dad raised me, my mother and my father raised me as a child to think, you don't have to be jealous of no one, because whatever God has for you, he has for you. No one can withhold what God wants to give, and no one can give what God won't give you or withhold it. So when you apply that and you think about that, you move in life a whole different way. Your whole frequency is different. So even if there's people posting things or saying things, it's not going to shape my religion because you didn't give it to me.
Absolutely.
So I know the God is real. I know the God that I serve, you know, because he's given us so much and not asking a dime for it. There's nowhere that we had to, you know, how to eat to live. You see that the doctors are using this now. They want to call it something else. 1 meal a day, not 1 meal a day. It's something else, intermediate fasting. But where did it come from? Go to the source. So we have people who are studying the teachings, but you don't want to give credit to the teachers. But it's okay because you know where you got it from.
That's right. And I would say for me, I grew up in the church, right? And I grew up in the church, grandson of pastors, and I joined the nation to prove the nation was wrong from the lens of those in the church. And I said that I could be a bridge, right? Because, you know, they might have some things wrong. But every brother and sister that I met was so intelligent, so smart, and so well studied. See, those that don't study, right, they are following God. They're not even following guidance. They follow misinformation. But let me tell you what Patrick is, right? So people can talk about the minister, what the minister did or whatever. Let me tell you what he has done for me, right? Because I'm that brother from East St. Louis, Illinois, where the educational system was not, the people didn't have the qualifications, but the lack of funding, the lack of resources allowed us to just put our best foot forward and get what we can. And from that humble beginning in East St. Louis, I've been able to grow to where I'm responsible now, because I see we have somebody who understands. Let me tell you what Farrakhan has done. Every day I'm responsible for a $7.5 million budget. I'm responsible for 200 adults. I'm responsible for 540 children. I'm responsible for 73 staff members. I know their mothers. I know their fathers. I know their animals, right? They love me. I have employed over 2,000 people in my 30 years of public education. At our farm, when we first got here, we had 400 children play soccer at our farm every other day. And on Saturdays, we had 1,000 people playing soccer, and we didn't take a dime. That's because we learned to love like the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. So when your cup runneth over, it doesn't worry about detractors and those with ill intentions, because Allah wakes us up every morning, not detractors, right? And so as long as we say our prayers, as long as we are sincere, we will continue to be blessed, because the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is connected to that divine line and order. So,
and I would like to add one more thing, if that's okay.
Sure.
The question is, what has Islam done for me? I know for a fact it has increased my faith, because for so many years, covering up the baby planes has been something that the government wanted to cover up, or it was something that they didn't want us to know. But I remember my father telling me when I was young, anytime you want to see it, just wake up in the morning and ask Allah if you can see it. Ask Allah if you can see the baby plane. So I remember a little over a year ago, I asked Allah if I could see it, if it was real. You know, of course, I was very humble and I was patient, and I was in tears because I was just by my window. I was sewing these junior FOI suits and everything. So I was standing by the window. I seen the moon. Then I seen a little green light flash on. I wasn't sure what it was. And I looked, I said, is this what I think it is? I go wake up my husband. When he came and I asked him, I said, Patrick, did you see anything? Look at the window. He looked and I said, what do you think it is? He said, oh, that could be a baby plane. So I was like, okay, you think that too? So he left and went back to prepare for prayer. I stood by the window and I was crying and I was just looking out the window. And then I was asking Allah to give me a sign. If it was real, to show me a sign, give me a clear distinction if it was a baby plane or not. Mm-hmm. It wasn't long. I didn't have to wait 2 or 3 days. Just standing by that window and being patient and believing. A couple of seconds later, I seen an airplane go by, and you can see the smoke behind the airplane. Airplane went by, didn't turn, it just straight went by. Shortly after that, I see the baby plane hover over. It came over some trees and it stopped and it went straight up. Airplanes don't do that. Since then, I've been seeing them over the property. I don't care what no one else say. I have videos, I have footage. I was blessed by Allah, my husband and I, and my entire family. Anytime we think of them, they appear. We're not saying this because I want to be seen. All I'm saying is that everything we was asked to try or to believe, mm-hmm. we believe. You understand? We believe, and it's not for show. I don't want anybody's money. You don't have to believe. I know what Allah has shown me. Mm-hmm. And this is because the Honorable Minister Farrakhan has shown us the way. So there is no other way. He showed us the door, how we can get to God without money. I mean, prayer, being sincere, praying. So people who are, shaky in their faith, you might want to really connect to God, right, and then go through God through his Christ, because that's what we are doing. Praise be to Allah. And we're teaching our children and many other children and other people, even if they have to borrow our faith until they get their own. Just like with us, we had to borrow the minister's faith until we received our own, by reading the books by the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, by studying the books. And we have a long way to go. I'm not saying we have arrived. We are babies in this thing, but baby with a little belief, that little faith of a mustard seed can go a long way. And we are still believing. That's right. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. All praises due to Allah. And before we go to announcements, we actually had a few photos that we wanted to share that you all sent us with your animals.
That's Marini.
That's my horse, Marini.
Oh, okay.
Beautiful horse. Now she's expecting. And Mansa Musa.
That's my main horse, Mansa Musa.
And then the last one.
That's with all the children. And my daughter's horse is Serafina. My son's horse is Royal. And Sai actually has a Godiva right there. But he has another horse called Dippin' Dot.
And Godiva is one of our tallest horses. She's part Frisian. Percheron.
Wow, this is amazing. Just seeing you all that I wouldn't say that's your flex, but you can really do things like that. That's wonderful in my eyes. And with that, we'll go to you with the announcements, Sister Janine.
Thank you. I want to thank you both because you are truly an inspiration on how to put faith into action and manifest what you see, or manifesting God's will that He allowed you to see and being a vessel. So we definitely thank you for that. Family, before we close out, we have a few announcements. If you like what you heard today, and I'm sure you did, you're invited to study with the Nation of Islam to learn the teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad as taught by his chief helper, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, by going to www.noi.org/go study. We have weekly webcasts every Sunday at 10 a.m. Central Standard Time, 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, or you can go to your local mosque or study group in your city. Final Call Radio, download it on all your devices. Take it with you on the go. If you want to keep your ear to what's going on, if you want to be blessed each day and be able to have a beautiful day throughout your day, just turn it on. You can still do everything else on your phone and just have Final Call Radio playing in the background, so that way you can have your children listening to it and just listen to it throughout your day. And also, speaking of the Final Call newspaper, you can actually get it from one of our brothers on the street. You see the cover of this week, which is Politics and Protests. You can get our Final Call. It is the #1 minister in our nation for a reason. Also, don't forget to get a Final Call subscription to our brothers and sisters that are behind bars. As we know, they can lock them up physically, but they cannot lock them up mentally. And last but not least, do you want a book that greatly empowers your child and showcases their self-worth? Look no further than I Never Knew I'm All That. This highly anticipated book by our host, Brother Donald Muhammad, illustrations by Sister Amina Lay. It's a wonderful book where you can give our children to really cultivate our child's needs, and you can get that on Amazon.com. And with that, I will turn it over to Brother Wesley Muhammad, who will give us our Muhammad moment, and then Brother West will close us out in prayer. Brother Wesley?
Yes, ma'am. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and I bear witness that Muhammad is his messenger. Assalamu alaikum, family. Tonight, our Muhammad moment comes from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. But before I do that, I have to thank again our brother and sister, Brother Patrick and Sister Ishtar Muhammad, for taking time out and sharing their journey of what has Islam done for them. The chat was on fire. It's still on fire now. So we definitely can see that it has inspired many that were watching, and it will continue to inspire those by the grace of Allah that may catch the replay as well. So again, thank you for your time. We cannot you will be remiss, and we cannot go without saying thank you to the entire viewing audience and listening audience as well, because without them there would be no what would Islam do for me. We also like to thank Sister Janine and Brother West for co-hosting and asking those beautiful questions to get that beautiful testimony from our brother and sister as well. We would like to thank our host, Brother Donald Muhammad, for providing this platform and striving to provide a platform for brothers and sisters throughout the Nation of Islam to share their journey as well. We can't thank Sister Cynthia Muhammad in supporting her husband, Brother Donald Muhammad, as well, with all she does behind the scenes to support and help our dear brother in having this platform provided. With that being said, we definitely can't thank enough Allah for coming in the person of Master W. Fard Muhammad, for finding that which was lost and raising up and teaching one to be his living and exalted Christ, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. And we can't thank them both enough for leaving our divine leader, teacher, and guide, the one doing the work of the Messiah in our midst today, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Without those three, we wouldn't know what Islam could do for us. So we're definitely thankful for those three in doing that work that was prophesied and that we all need to be able to have Islam here in the wilderness of North America. So we give all praises due to Allah for that. At this time, I want to go to our Muhammad moment. This is from the lecture entitled "The Harvest is Ripe, but the Laborers are Few." This was delivered January 2nd, 1991 by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. You can get this lecture and many lectures by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan at store.finalcall.com. Feel free to go and get this lecture and any lecture to continue to feed on these life-giving and life-saving teachings of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad as taught by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. But let's enjoy tonight's Muhammad moment.
Yes, sir.
So he says, I do not want importance among the officials, nor the laborers. Do not do other than yourself. We are not supposed to do or be other than what we are. What are we? We're righteous Muslims. Then don't do other than yourself, and don't take on mixed instructions other than our assignment. You don't get off track. You got one mission, one objective, one aim, one purpose. That is the rise of our people. Don't get sidetracked. Yes. It's good to do this. It's good to do that, but with the focus in mind. See, you want to be a doctor, but a doctor ain't nothing unless he's tied to a mission bigger than being a doctor.
Yes, sir.
You got a nation to heal. You want to be a sociologist, a psychologist, a lawyer, fine, go be that. But to be a lawyer just to make money, no, to be a lawyer to fight for justice for your people, because the idea is to make a people free. Everything is for the rise of your people.
Yes, sir.
Don't get sidetracked. Right. I want to be a musician. Fine, be a musician. But don't let me catch you into funk.
Right.
Don't do other than yourself.
Yes, sir.
We don't have no funky Muslims.
Yes, right. Right.
They used to be funky. But the Savior said you must clean up.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Or you're out of luck with us.
Yes, sir.
So that should be reflected in your music.
Yes.
It should be reflected in your song. It should be reflected in your dance. You ain't out there entertaining for entertainment purpose. You out there entertaining, and you got wisdom in it to make a people rise. And that's what Living Color, what made Living Color more successful.
That's right.
Because they dropped some lugs in skits that would raise the level of consciousness of the people. That's what makes Public Enemy one of the top rap groups in the world, because they put wisdom in a rap, because their aim is to see a people free. Is it making sense?
Yes, sir.
You don't want to be a politician just to be a politician. You want to be a politician so you can fight for the liberation of your people. You got one aim, one destiny, one focus. Don't take on mixed instructions other than your assignment.
All right, let's close out in prayer. Attention prayer. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, all praise is due to Allah, the Lord of the worlds, the Beneficent, the Merciful, Master of the Day of Judgment in which we now live. To Thee alone do we serve, and to Thee alone do we beseech for help. O Allah, guide us along the straight path, the path upon which Thou hast bestowed Thy favors, not the path of those upon whom Thy wrath is brought down, nor of those who go astray after hearing Thy teachings. Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum, family.
We have been that